hey, listen, I was on a dozen prescriptions. Fentanyl, OxyContin, Tramadol, codeine, Tylenol 3 with codeine. What cannabis does is it goes into your cannabinoid system and it replaces the cannabinoids that you don't have. Maybe that you've never had for years and years and years, because the pharmaceutical drugs, they leach the cannabinoids out, so they work against the cannabinoid system, right?
It's supposed to be a cousin to multiple sclerosis.
Oh, cannabis does beautiful for MS.
Yeah.
Do you know that we have the highest rates of MS in the world here in Canada? It's because we're the furthest away from the equator. It does fantastic. I know a guy, he's working with me with medical marijuana. He has MS so bad, guess what he's doing? He's on cannabis and he's playing in a rock band. He's playing in a rock band. Do you know Michael J. Fox? Do you know Michael J. Fox?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, boy, oh, boy.
Yeah.
I want to introduce you to his wife. This is his wife, Michael J. Fox's wife.
My name is Elise Del Francia. I'm the owner of Copycat Showroom downtown Palm Springs, and my husband and I owned the property here, and my husband was afflicted with Parkinson's about 5 years ago. He found out that he had it, and he was in denial for a good 2 years and medicated himself with alcohol and would laugh about that, you know, alcohol's the only thing that makes him feel good. But after a while, you can't drink like that. So anyway, we had found out about medical marijuana in California. We lived in Las Vegas at that time. And when I realized that it was legal in the state of California, I gave him some, unbeknownst to himself. And within 45 minutes after eating a pancake with marijuana on it, he stopped shaking. And I walked over to his ottoman and sat down in front of him and I said, "How do you feel?" And he just put his hands out and said, "Look, look, I'm not shaking." And he had a smile on his face. He felt great. He did not move from that chair for 6 hours. So that was my light bulb moment. I knew that then I was onto something that was going to relieve his pain and suffering, because it's horrible to have Parkinson's disease and not have any relief. And I feel that this is something that helps so many people in so many ways with pain and suffering. And to take some of the medication, the expensive pharmaceutical drugs are destroying people's lives, not really helping them. Either they can't afford the pharmaceutical drugs, or it's damaging their kidneys or damaging their bodies in some way. So I'm behind this cause 100%, 110%, and anything that I can do, I will do. And I urge anybody that is interested in learning more about the true effects of medical marijuana, not what the government wants you to know, is to join in on this. You can't put people in jail for just trying to find some relief with what ails them. So there you have it, Lanny.
And so the Michael J. Fox was recently video recorded, playing in a rock band called the Dave Matthews Rock Band. He's got Parkinson's. He's playing guitar. How does that happen? I've seen miracles right in front of my eyes. I'm a miracle myself because of the pharmaceuticals, but this stuff is designed to do two things. Heal your body and make you sleep. That's it. Everywhere you look, it's designed to support the human body. It's crazy. And what I want to do is, my intention is to work with the fire department, the RCMP, the first responders, and get their people that have PTSD, help them. Because when they see how fast this works, when they see how effective this works, when they see, you got PTSD and you want to work with a psychologist, and you're all messed up, you can never settle down. If I can give you relief at 4 hours or 6 hours at a time so you can work with the therapist, that's a miracle. That's a breakthrough. THC will always, yeah, it's because it's interesting when you vape. When you vape, if you took your lungs out and cut them and spread them, that's a huge area of raw nerve. And the way I teach people how to vape different through the breath, deep abdominal breathing, where we take 45 seconds to take a vape. And what that does is, the experts are saying that deep inhalation on a vaporizer is very, very, very close to intravenous delivery. It's that quick and it's that effective. That's why I love vaping. because vaping peels away pain in 10 seconds. I can have my pain up to a 10 or 11 out of 10, and within 10 seconds, my pain is down to a 2. It's just the most magnificent thing I have ever seen. And I still get surprised. I think, oh, this is not going to work again. It works every time. Now, here's an interesting thing about strains. Everybody will tell you, did I already mention this? To do single strains. You always want to do multiple strains, right? For better medicine. So when I work with you, if I work with you, I will always get full spectrum medicine. Full spectrum medicine, they use the entire plant. The flowers, the leaves, the stalk, sometimes the root, the full spectrum. So whenever you see full spectrum medicine, that's usually Rick Simpson oil. That's probably one of the first things that I would put you on, and you are going to love it. Do you have trouble sleeping?
What?
Do you have trouble sleeping? Oh, you won't need it anymore. And there will be a permanent little smile. And really, it's important, you guys, to know this. When you use marijuana, please, I'm begging you, please use a healthy fat. Use a whipped cream, use MCT oil, coconut oil, use a hemp seed oil, because cannabis is fat soluble. You'll never get the value out of the cannabis if you don't use a healthy fat. I put whipped cream in my coffee every morning. And it's a healthy fat. As long as you don't put sugar in it, and as long as you don't put vanilla in it, it is classified as a healthy fat, as long as you don't overdo it. You don't have a liter a day. But it's really important that you put that healthy fat in there, because it's so funny. I was vaping about a year ago. We lived down the road, so 2 years ago. I vaped, you become euphoric, then we went out for dinner. We went to a fish and chip place, and I had fish and chips. Well, what's fish fried in? Fat, right? And I ate it, and about an hour later after I vaped, boom, I was euphoric again. So please remember that if you take cannabis, any kind of cannabis, watch your fat content. Have fat at the beginning. Don't have an empty stomach. Have a full stomach, and make sure you have a healthy fat. And the first time you try cannabis with somebody, I would like you to be with somebody. Don't be alone. Be with somebody that it doesn't matter. They don't have to be a cannabis expert, but just to make sure that you're safe. If you take a little bit too much, it's going to flood your brain, and your senses will become supercharged. So the sense of smell, you're going to smell everything. You're going to see your vision get too fast. That's where the paranoia comes in. Then you're paranoid. That's exactly what happens. People say, "Oh man, I can't use marijuana because I get paranoid." It's dose dependent. If you start off with a really, really small dose, you will never get yourself in trouble. And then go up. I'm looking forward to working with you. You have to have cash.
You have to have cash.
Because it is a cash transaction. But you know what's nice about the Compassion Club? They give you a receipt. They tell you exactly what you bought. I've spent $27,000 at the Compassion Club. $27,000 so far. But they'll give you a receipt. And I believe it's tax deductible. I'm pretty sure cannabis is tax deductible. Yes?
Didn't you say that you could give them your credit card and they'd mail it to you?
Yes, they will do that if you set up that program. Like if you go in there and say, I really love it, but I can't come out every month to get my stuff, can you set up? And they will be happy to do that. CBD cannot make you euphoric. Now, there's a caveat. There's a caveat out there, because there's one guy on a podcast that says, oh, there's a caveat. Caveat, that means pay attention. This is a caveat? How do you explain a caveat? An adjunct. How do you explain an adjunct? Okay, here's how. If you say, what was I talking about now?
Caveats.
Yeah, no, but the THC, there's one guy out there in the podcast world that says, yeah, it's possible to get high on CBD. But the experts are saying now it's more of an allergic reaction. And they're suspecting mold or pesticides in the flour that they use to That's why it's so important that when I help you, or help anybody, it's got to come from the Compassion Club. Because I don't want tainted medicine. I need the real medicine to make sure it's going to work. And then we use an app on our smartphones called Manage My Pain Pro. Every time we use cannabis, we record it. That way you can email your doctor and say, this is how I'm using my cannabis. Right?
So you're talking about the fats and
Yes.
the THC.
Yes.
That wouldn't have anything to do with, like, if I was to take the oil. You wouldn't have...
So you want to have fat. Any type of marijuana, whether it's CBD based or THC based, you need healthy fat. Absolutely. And the best healthy fat is MCT oil, medium chain triglycerides, from the coconut plant. That kind of oil, 95% of it is burned off as fuel, energy for your body. Only 5% stays as fat in the body. So it's probably the healthiest fat other than hemp seed oil. Did you know that hemp seed oil is from the marijuana plant? Yeah. And hemp seed oil is the exact best balance for the human body for omega-3s and omega-6s. So that, or MCT oil, or whipped cream, whatever healthy fat you like. Avocado is a very good healthy fat. I would stay away from the olive oils. The olive oils, it's too big, and they're not as effective as coconut oil or MCT. No, just the coconut. You could go down to the bulk barn and get MCT oil. It's $24, but it's a liquid, and you take a tablespoon a day. I take 2 tablespoons a day.
Rick, I think you have to be very careful how much saturated the coconut oil is.
Yes. You raised a good point. We have to be careful, but on the flip side, did you know that your brain is 65% saturated fat? Your brain is 65% saturated fat. MCT oil doesn't really have a toxicity. MCT oil feeds your brain. As a matter of fact, they've proven that MCT oil actually in a way can reverse Alzheimer's because it replaces the saturated fat that your brain needs. Interesting, hey? And I've got that from doctors. I got videos from doctors saying that. So there's thousands. Jimmy and I know a lot about studies about coconut oil. You sent me, 15,000 studies? That one report, it's 15,000 studies in it? Yeah, it's crazy. I make this process really simple. I get the medicine in your hands, and I make sure you know how to properly use it, and I check it with you and make sure you're okay, you're doing okay, do you need more, do you need less, what's going on, for side effects, because there are a few side effects. If you take too much, you get sleepy. That's all. But you'll never get dangerous. You'll never be dangerous to yourself. Well, you have to eat the whole bottle.
You won't overdose.
You can't. It's very difficult.
For example, if I took one too many opioid, I would have an overdose.
Yeah.
However, if you took a little too much of the Mary Jane, you could eat ground pepper.
That's yes.
The euphoria right now, you become sober immediately.
Yes.
So there's no going to the hospital.
Yeah.
An overdose.
We build in safety things with our classes. Like I'll always, if I'm counseling you with high THC, I will take 10 or 20 peppercorns in a baggie and give it to you and say, if you feel scared or uncomfortable, I want you to take 6 of these peppercorns and chew them. Do not swallow them. That's not pleasant, but chew them for a minute and then spit them out. It will anchor the high immediately and get you out of trouble. If you don't do that, you're going to spend 4 hours very uncomfortable, and you'll say, cannabis isn't for me, when you just took too much and it was your own fault, now we have to backtrack it, right? It's dose dependent. So if you handle the doses right, it is just a magical medicine that lifts your pain and improves your quality of life in almost every aspect. There is let me tell you something about my pain specialist. Nobody knows how to take it. And when you do know, they hand you a joint and say, good luck, Chuck. Go, get some munchies and you'll go to sleep. No, never smoke it. Once you burn your medicine, it's gone. And once you burn your medicine, you only get 10 to 15% of the medicine because you burn it at 1400 degrees. I vape it at 220, the same temperature you bake a potato at. So it's safe, and I get twice the amount of medicine. Everything in my life improves: my sleep, my energy, your liver, it controls diabetes. The list just goes on and on and on and on. But when do you want to go? I usually have 1 or 2 people or 3 people going down with me every couple of weeks anyway. So did you want to go down again?
Oh, yeah.
You know what, you guys, it's a culture, because you have to start thinking about this as lifestyle medicine. Don't start thinking about this as scary. It's customized medicine. You get to customize your medicine any way you want. You're going to have so much fun mixing your medicine and doing your fats and thinking, I wonder if I could take a little bit of Rick Simpson oil now. The Rick Simpson oil that we want to put you on, oh my good, it just doesn't argue. Just, you want to go to sleep? 8 to 10 hours of the most beautiful sleep, and you're going to wake up and you say, that was one of the most refreshing sleeps I've ever had in my life. My wife used to sleep 3 hours, Pat, she used to sleep 3 hours a day. That was it. That was it, years ago, before I put her on cannabis. Now, I give her a half a tincture. We even listen to a podcast every night. And she is snoring 30 seconds into that podcast every single night, without fail. do you know what a blessing it is when you know that the person that you love and you're sleeping beside, when you hear them softly, and you know when they're breathing regularly, she softly snores, right? And you know that really soft, elegant, that healthy breathing. She's breathing that all the time now. Before it was really cut. She's got that sleep apnea as well. But with the cannabis, it helps so much. She just sleeps right through the night, and she gets up. Sometimes she says she's a little groggy, but that's a little bit of the medicine. I give her a little bit more extra on the weekends, and it's okay to do that, because if you need to catch up on your sleep, take a little bit more and enjoy. That's what I'm saying, right? Because if you're not sleeping well, or say you want to go out to a funeral and you're all messed up emotionally and you just can't put it together, is it okay to use a little bit of extra medication? As long as you're not driving, yes, go ahead, because it's just going to calm you down. Why be all strung out, right? As long as it's handled safely, appropriately, responsibly, and you don't put yourself in danger, you can experiment safely within some guidelines and have a lot of fun doing it, right? Like the oil, you were putting the sore muscle rub on your head?
Yeah.
you got a little lightheaded?
There's no question that it does a lot of things that we're not used to.
Yes. You were putting it on your head, then you got a little...
Was that on purpose or by accident?
No, you just have to peel back your mouth. So, it's a fascinating plant, and that's why there's a safety aspect that you need to consider. We put him on a higher THC. We could have put him on a tincture. We might try him in a tincture later on in the future if he wants, right? So just because one thing makes you uncomfortable with and didn't work that well, there's a million other ways that we can do this. Don't walk away from cannabis because it didn't work one way, right? Because it can work a lot other ways, right? But in the class, we're going to be teaching how to make the sore muscle rub. Well, I'm going to teach titration classes.
Oh.
That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to listen and teach titration. So we're going to have 10 people in a room, 10 students, and they can bring one caregiver and 2 family members. So for each injured chronic person, we can have up to 4 people. So if we have 10 injured person, we can have a class of 40 people, right? Because their caregivers need to see this. Because when their pain starts to lift within 20 minutes with the tincture, they're going to say, well, that's impossible. I want them to see this, right? Because if they see it and they're there, then they know what to expect. It's very important that their caregivers and their family members know what to expect when they take cannabis. When I teach the class, I'm going to record it. When I teach the class, I will have an addiction specialist, I will have a medical doctor, I will have whatever specialist they want. And all my training will be free to medical community, first responders, fire, and RCMP, and local law enforcement. So whenever I hold the class, whenever there's room, they're welcome to come for free. So tell the fire department and the police department that. Because they don't know that you can juice cannabis, right? And they don't know that vaped cannabis stops PTSD. How many firefighters and first responders have we got there with PTSD? It completely shuts their life down, right? Not talking about other diseases, not talking about anything else. Up here, shuts their life down. Well, if they can't access that PTSD, that's a win. And that's a miracle, but as long as it's handled well. So I vape twice a day. I vape at 2 o'clock in the afternoon for a beautiful 4-hour relief, and then I vape at 7:30 at night for a beautiful 4-hour relief, right? If you're fighting a chronic pain, you can vape 3 or 4 times a day, and you'll probably vape yourself right out of the disease, because it just works on so many levels.